So, we got a live stream going. Yep, there we go. We got a busy day too, by the looks of this. There's a lot of credible information, and that's backed up in a lot of openness, that these typhoons are being created. And I done a video a while back about energy weapons and laser beams, and I went right through the entire history, the 50-year history that we know about, of laser beams. And I'm going to get into that in a moment. But today is day 16th of death plumes since the October 25th earthquake in Fukushima, off Fukushima, which was the epicenter. And they kind of they disguised it as a tsunami, and then they came out, there was no tsunami, but the tsunami they called for was 33 millimeters, but it should be, or 33 centimeters, should be 3 feet. So I went from metric to standard, but it should be at least, a meter high before it's actually called a tsunami or considered a warning for a tsunami. And so that was really interesting. I thought that right away, see? But a 7.2, when I looked it up, because no footage came out of Japan, only 2 videos, ABC and CNN, showed the buildings in Tokyo, which is quite a few kilometers away, rather, were rocking and people were hanging on. So it was easy to postulate that Fukushima, hundreds of millions of tons of earth had went up in the air, and those buildings had got their backs broke again. And that's for people that are not familiar with this story very well and are joining the stream lately. And I have to do that all the time to make sure everybody's up to speed a little bit anyway on what we're going to say tonight. And that this earthquake on October the 15th in Bohol, Philippines, which was the center of that super typhoon, Yolanda, which hit land at, they say 195 miles an hour, but they also immediately say with a repeated gust of 235 miles per hour. And I have been watching a lot of today and yesterday, and the day before a bit, because the footage was just coming out of the Philippines typhoon, and folks, that's 100 million people affected. It was an F4 tornado by the standards of a tornado. And the standards of a tornado, though, are only about a quarter mile to a half mile wide for a really big tornado like an F4. The Philippines, the eye of the storm, the most powerful part, the 235 mile an hour gust, was 100 miles wide. That should only be seen on Mars. And Dutch Sink has posted 2 videos now and has been called out because he's showing, it's not him, he's just asking why does this symmetrical curve and the temperature and everything else is indicative of microwave plasma, maybe. Nobody knows for sure. We do know that this technology has been around for a long time. Reagan was trying to, and probably succeeded in putting it up into space, according to all the experts. And think about how China painted an American satellite when George Bush was president from, I think it was like 370 miles away from Earth, painted that satellite. And the Americans, about a week later, came out and said only their friends would be allowed into space. And so Dutch, when you listen to his vocals, and the people that know me know what I'm talking about here right now, my site is full of music because that's what I listen to. And I know these people, if not now, but in the near future, will be incredible artists. And a lot of them are now. There's probably 1,000 of them got CDs up there on my sites. But the point I'm trying to make is when I listen to his vocals, I don't hear the hesitation. I don't hear that. I don't hear the cracking, right? Which is indicates the unsureness of somebody when they're saying something. It's not the same as hesitation. It's not the same as thinking and getting your facts straight, something like that. There's a subtle difference that goes on when somebody is skewing something or somebody's trying to fabricate it or exaggerate it a little bit, and that's usually done on the run. See, you have to be really rehearsed to be that clean on your vocals. And so I believe Dutch 100%. What he's saying, what he's showing, all the links that he's got there, is that the rise in the temperature outside of Japan, because think about the numbers. There's 4.3 billion gallons a day running over which is 1,000,000 gallons a minute and 1,440 minutes in a day. And if there's 1,000,000 gallons a minute running over each of the cores, that's 3 cores we're doing the numbers on. That's 4.3 billion gallons a day. And because they're on that site every day, that means water is running over those cores, and that's built into the architects and long-term plans of every nuclear plant, is that if there's a meltdown, the ocean comes in, or there's a natural river that they build on top of. And so the cores will go down, get on that bedrock, which the rivers over hundreds of thousands of years have worn all the soil away usually, and the bedrock is right below the water. See? That's what mostly a river is, because it's ran its course for millenniums till the end, since the beginning of time. I know that's a lot to grab on the first couple of minutes, but it's very important what Dutch, and also another, and I got the link under the video to both videos. Now, new scientists came out and to debunk Dutch. Oh, excuse me. 1 second, folks. That was a little rough. I had done a video where I tore apart New Scientists a month ago. It's called Excerpts from the Mad Scientist's Handbook, So You're Ready to Vaporize a Human. And what they done was they came out, New Scientists, and said that technology doesn't exist, like lasers, which is patently absurd. Because I got, like, the video I put out to show they can cut through 20 feet of steel per second with their lasers that they're just one type of laser. But if you go look up a Wikipedia, you'll get an entire list of different types of lasers, and you ain't going to get through it in a few minutes. And then they have probable uses, but you got to use your own mind too. As you go through the list up on Wikipedia of lasers, you're in for a shock if you've never done that. It's worth spending a half an hour and reading absolutely everything there. And so you can make up your own minds on what's possible and what's not possible and what's theoretic or what's not theoretic and what actually exists. And just, I'm going to go slurp for a second. Oh, that's good. I had 7 minutes before the show was starting, and Puppy took off on me, and I had the kettle on, and I was just like, yeah, this ought to be fun. Will I get there on time? I probably showed up late. Let's run down and catch up any comments, and I'm going to come back to these topics right away, and then we're going to move on to the contamination, because I'm bouncing pretty hard there right now. Hi, Tom. Hi, Third Watch. Hi, Dave. Hi, Dana needs his glasses. Oh, there you go. Lee Ran Errol. Hi, Dana. Yeah, come up to you folks in a second. Albert. Hi, Albert. Hi, Never. Terry. Let's catch him. Church. Cantor. Nancy Red Star. Hi. Aylin. Raven. Hi. And Stephen. Hi. Now I'm going to try to read a couple and answer a few. That shouldn't be shaking like that. I put so much energy into making sure that can't happen. Sorry. Hello, Star Wars! Thank you, Stephen. I shouldn't yell. I gotta watch what I'm doing here. Let me turn it down a little bit because I notice I can't even lift my voice at all. Now I can talk a bit louder. I'm stupid anyway when it comes to this creature. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm gonna go buy another microphone, I guess. This is supposed to be the end all to the microphones, top notch, and it still just gives me a headache every single day. Okay, let me catch up. I'm gonna go down. Hi, Dana. Media blackout was pre-planned. As you know, following a 7.0 earthquake, reactor 4 would melt down as well, right? Yeah, and that's what. That was kind of interesting that David Suzuki, 5 days after, out here in Alberta, got on the stage and said if there was a 7, or he actually said a 7.2, which is what I say all the time. It's actually a 7.3 they had there. And he said if they had one of them, it would be hell on earth down there. And then they had that blackout, of course. But he didn't say they just had one 5 days ago, so I think he was just alluding to it. He's got to be careful what he says, But he knows times have changed. There's no more superstar world anymore. Now it's more about, my goodness, look what they've done. And he knows it's a dangerous world to be. Yeah, if you go and look up what they want to do with lasers, you'll find out that's what they're doing with lasers. See? They're not going to tell you what they're doing. That's top secret. They don't want other countries to know what they're up to. And it's just this big game of secrecies. When you take it into consideration, I'm going to come back to New Scientist for a second. I just wanted to finish up that. Hi, Nast Tree Service. Matthew. Hey, okay. Hey, RH. Hey, Dana. This is the first time that I've watched your live. Aloha. I've been watching you for a while. Appreciate your info. Thank you. You're very kind. I'm trying my best, but somebody has to come out, and it's hard, right? It's hard. At some point, I'm gonna offend pretty well everybody. Nothing I can do about it. Because when you're doing these live things, and that's not hi blasted hippie. When you're doing these live streams, it's a totally different game, and things can be taken out of context. I know that, and I see that sometimes in the comments. You know, the Philippines, like, do people really get how scary this kind of technology, these weapons, the radiated ocean, the heating up ocean actually is? Any of these are applicable, and all of these are applicable. And if the ocean is full, and we know it is, because they lied constantly about what was going out there, because the models that I covered in the last couple of videos extensively, you know, the 2 short ones I put up yesterday, they're extensive. That's extensive coverage from peer review and academic studies, and then peer reviewed, right? And they're authenticated, and it's just models. It's just the modeling, right, that everybody accepts that they're using, right? So it's not like they went out and said, hey, we just created a new model, and look, you know, folks, it's not. They're basing it up on the tried, true, and tested models. But they only use 2 weeks of input. There's actually 975 days of input of just 300 tons a day they'd never put into that model. And there's also a million gallons a minute running over each of the 3 melted cores, 3 million gallons a minute, 1,440 minutes in a day, 975 days pouring into that ocean of isotopes that are not, and 1,300 different isotopes. And so that's not into any of the models, but the models are frightening just on their own for 2 weeks of data. It blows me away. And so multiply that by several thousand, obviously. Several 100,000 probably. Because if you postulate on it, and with the history I have on depleted uranium, like I said, they used to call it DULRAM. They don't call it that no more. They call it DU, which is a misnomer, depleted uranium. Well, if it's depleted, why do they got to put it in the sarcophagus for a billion years, right? Why is it so toxic? A Dixie cup of it will kill everybody in a restaurant inside of an hour, and it'll do that for a billion years. You know, if it's depleted, why all the fuss, right? Well, that's the misnomer, and I've had so many people try that with me. It's depleted, it's no big deal. No, it just can't be used for weaponized. It's still weaponized. It's still a weapon. Just on its own, you don't have to do nothing with it. Just drop it in the local watering hole, and no one can ever drink in that community again. All your pipes will be radiated in every house. Not to mention everybody's glowing in the dark. Why, thank you so much, Stephen. Could Fukushima... You beat me to it. It's not very much fun. That was my next sentence. You get out of my head, okay? Could Fukushima been a plant meltdown to radiate the ocean to experiment with weather manufacturing? That's kind of like the line that I was headed in. These are kooky people. Every minute, right? Every minute, there's 3 academic, peer-reviewed from other institutions, and so it's verified now, journals that are published, not counting the ones that are not published, but are published. 3 a minute. So that's 4,200 a day or so. Of 1,000 page, and on subjects we know nothing about, and then are locked away in the ivory tower. And that goes on every day. That works out to around 1.6 billion man-hours per year, per 1,000 hours per academic study. And there's about 1.6 million academic studies per year. And we don't know nothing about that. Year after year after year, it's locked away in the ivory towers, and you have to pay $45,000 just for one of the Wiley Springers or Elsevier's academic publishing outfits, which are, they own 20,000 of the most prestigious ones on the planet, and they get that for free. You paid for it, your taxes paid for it, your children produced it, your institutions and universities that you funded and you supplied and you equipped produced them, and then some reason Wiley, Elser, and who are these people? They are the military-industrial machine itself. That's the New World Order, And what they do is we produce knowledge, and they steal it and lock it away, and that's ours. That should be open. If it was open, we can go in and find out what they're doing, because that's where they got the knowledge to do what they're doing. And also they're looking at, think about how a lot of the lasers have radiation isotopes in them, right? And it's not necessarily, if it was for weather modification, I mean, they just proved their point. They seen an opportunity, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they done it on purpose. We don't know. We don't put nothing past this. Anything that would lock up all that information, keep you subsistent upon just obsolete technology, when 4,200 peer-reviewed academic studies come out every day. And just 1 week's worth of that could probably change the way we live till the end of time. Imagine what a decade of it could do, or 50 years of these academic It's just an incredible amount that we don't know, and we will never know, that are locked away and stolen from us, that our children and our communities and our taxes, I think in Canada, $35 billion a year goes to fill up their libraries. And we can't get access to. Even the people that are producing them. I know I'm going on and on and on about that. But I want you to understand that when we talk about technology, and someone says, oh, show me a peer review study first, there's 4,200 locked up every day. So you can't. How can you show people, see? And that's how they beat you down, and a lot of people don't understand that. And so every once in a while I'll bring that up for people to make sure that another group of people can really truly wrap their mind around how you're being bamboozled. And people like Dutch Sink and Tattoo, the link is below the video, I can't remember his name. I just found him before he came online. I watched his video, I like him. He's Western, he's Texas probably, or something like that. I have another slurp hang up. It's just the way I don't know how to slurp it properly, so I've been looking for it online. Nobody's really worked it out properly, so I think maybe I'll come up with my own video. How to slurp. You got to watch out, I got a sense of humor, but I sat there tonight, and I had to hold those tears back while I'm watching the Philippines, okay? That hurts me. When I sit here and I'm talking to a camera, and I'm talking to an imaginary group of people that I know actually exist, and to me, I imagine it, say that there's that group of people there, and so I try to stay focused. And I might say stupid stuff that's misinterpreted. Make no mistake, every day I have to hold back those tears watching that stuff. I watch all that Fukushima. That terrorizes me on its own. But I keep educating myself more and more. And whenever I find something I don't understand, I go look it up. And continue on with the video or reading the story. Reading stories is a little easier because you just copy the words or the sentence or the phrase and pop it into the search engine. And a lot of times you'll get these academic studies and you can't access it unless you want to pay $1,000, $50, $500. And so you keep going out. And what I learned to do was they always tell you who the author of these studies is, and a lot of them will leak it out somewhere. And so you can usually find quite a lot about the study without actually paying the money for the study. And I don't know, that's one good thing about, yeah. So Steve, first peer reviews, next to peers, yeah. Excuse me, Farmville. Lee Ray, real. I can't pronounce that one. Sorry. I wish I could. Tom, that certain energy can be transferred with a laser, right? I was going to put those. I was going to do cameras under the water, and people probably remember. Some of you remember that video from. It got stolen. The Canadian government spent $300 million to do my business plan for the University of Victoria here in British Columbia. That was my business plan, right down to the 3,000 kilometers of fiber optics. That was my ultimate business plan. And they went and enacted my business plan, but they didn't do certain parts. How did I end up on that one, I wonder? Oh, yeah. So, knowledge is power, which is why they keep it from the rest of us. Who reads them all? Who could read them all? Who can read 3,000 pages a minute, 3 academic journals a minute? Fast Crow, wake up. Yeah. So the lasers are shooting off radiation like energy that will go anywhere that lasers can go in a form of quantum entanglement. Absolutely. That's all reasonably possible. And it has been proven. And like I say, those two links under the video, these guys are smart and they're pretty fast, but they link everything. And they got their blogs. There'll be a link over to the blogs, and they'll have all of that ready there. And you can go check out all the sources that they're using, and you'll see they don't fake it. See, nothing whatsoever. So checks and balances with the higher temperature in the Pacific create an El Nino, of course. Yeah. And well, a new type of El Nino. You think of what the models say about heating up, the global warming, heating up the oceans, how this will create the super typhoons. Think about how radiation, hundreds of, 4.3 billion gallons a day going out into the ocean of radiation. That's not counting Sellafield with 8 million liters a day has been going into the ocean for many years. Not counting all 440 nuclear plants that all got their discharges directly into the ocean, because if you do it into the community with an ear, then they'll have dead people on the side of the roads, and that'll be a catastrophic thing for the nuclear industry. It's all about protecting their long-term goal, because they can't get into space without nuclear, the next part of nuclear, where they're going to mix it with matter and antimatter, basically. Right? It's a leaping stone, rather, one to the next, and that's the Halon Collider. That's all about, that's not got nothing to do with us, okay? That got nothing helpful for us. That's about the elites being able to travel to other planets. They will sacrifice everything on this planet, particularly because of the robotic age is now upon us. We just don't understand it and appreciate it. Make no mistake, I follow it consistently for many years. And HAARP. And HAARP is not just the Alaska HAARP. If people are not familiar with it, it is a double A, right? I can't remember. HAARP. I think that is, and there you go, Alien Raven. Got it right. I'm just glancing back and forth. Well, Russia's got it, China's got it, other countries got it. See? And all these are manipulating the ionospheres, up above the stratospheres, and they're pushing it about 50 miles up into space. And then they let it go. So you ever see these things where you take a elastic balloon with a hole, and you got it onto a round, and you can shoot air out anyway. Imagine something 50 miles wide, that kind of pressure. Well, if you put flour on your table and you go like that, what happens to the flour, right? If you go down on the table in the middle of the flour, so the flour does this thing. Sorry, I lost track. Well, yeah, that was HAARP we were talking about. So there's so many of these things. There's 4,200 academic journals every day. We don't know, right? We don't know. And anything to do with lasers is so top secret that, it's almost impossible to penetrate what they're really up to. But we know it's that they use, I can't remember, in the 60s they were doing 1 million beats a second. 1 million! That was in 66 or something. I covered all of that in my video about lasers, that 25-30 minute video where it's pretty rough, but anyway, I included everything for everybody. Okay, let me run back down, because who knows how many I missed this time, and I want to come back up to the Philippines. The Philippines, that's radiated water running over them. So the ocean is full of radiation, just on a 2-week model. This is 976 days. It didn't include the 300 tons a day. It didn't include all the water running over the melted cores. And I can't remember, Rhoda left a comment on my other video that she's seen CNN saying that 1, 2, and 3 officially are melted. Well, thank you so much, CNN, you scum of the earth, CNN. And let me try to catch up. Thanks, Church Cantor. Thank you. That's a very kind comment. Here I am again following your videos. Religiously keep up the good work. You're like me, I'm out there following everybody too, include myself, unfortunately, because I got to make sure I don't repeat myself too much. And that's really hard to do, but it's okay. Thomas, I heard you last talk, and I have to say you're trying to be honest and upfront. No fear porn, no underplaying it. No, I'm laying it out just like it is. I think people are responsible and educated enough if you tell them the truth and you give them something tangible to work with so they can go look things up for themselves, then that's the best thing I could ever hope for, right? Is that you educate people on what's really going on out there, and then they can take what they're learning and mix it together. It's just like Dutch over there. You know, you learn a lot off Dutch and tattoo. These people are really good. Thanks, Albert. Tom, did you get the link on my channel with some news on the real situation showing images of the fires? No, I haven't. I didn't know. No, I just came online, so I don't know. I'll go check after, though. Thanks, Albert. I've been following your feed here since day 3 when I found it, looking for more info on Fukushima after the most recent quake. I'm glad you're getting this info out. Desley Rain Neil? Can't pronounce it. Third Watch says hi. I'm just going to run up through these comments so I don't have to do this no more. Fires in the reactor. Yeah. Well, there's reports of fires in 5 and 6 before the cameras went down. And the only video coming out of TEPCO is that camera. So that means there's censorship and internet blackout. Tom says he drinks green tea and avoids seafood, and it seems to work for you. But green tea, a lot of green tea got fluoride in it, Tom, so go check out the tea you're drinking. Be careful of that stuff, okay? Some of those teas might have 1,000 times more fluoride than is in your toothpaste. Think about that one. I'm not sure which one it is anymore. David Motter. Hello, Dana. Hope you're well. How is Zoe doing? She's much better. Her fur feels back to almost normal. The last 2 days she hasn't yelped, hasn't screamed every time I try to pick her up. I have to pick her up and move her all the time for quite a while there. She was hurt pretty bad. She was fine when I left the house. When I came back home, she was a bad. I couldn't touch her head. She would just go into a howl, and she had a big welt on her rib cage that we found. Roger, who you heard back there on day 7, I think it was. He came in, and I had me back, and he went over and he touched her, and she screamed, and so I told him to leave her alone because it's like I'm very defensive. But anyway, he found that welt right away. He said, "My goodness, Dana, someone hit her?" And I don't know. They had to come in to do it, see? And then the top of her head, you couldn't touch the top of her head for 3 or 4 days. I digressed. But like, I think someone came into my home and done that. There's nothing missing. But because I'm covering this subject, and because I have a history of flushing it out pretty decent, and I don't claim to be the smartest person or even anything near there. I only claim to say that everything that I vet, then I'll share it. And I vet a lot of things, so. And I always look at it differently because everybody else wants you to look at it the one way, so I always try to go down the other door and see if any of them opens, and they usually do. So eventually it should sink to the cores to the earth and be neutralized, right? In 1,000 years or whatever. Don't know. That's Lyrania roll. I'll always try to pronounce it, but I'll never get it right. Lasty Hippie. Hi, Annie. Yeah, no, I know. Hi, Fundicize. Is there any hope for us, Dana? I'm getting depressed about this. Well, yeah. So, like, once again, we have a high tolerance. So we can, we're still going to get the cancers coming up big time, inconceivable in 5 and 6 years, because the whole coastline is already polluted. And so we have to organize yourselves to eat healthy. Anything that looks, you go to the supermarket and it looks like you should take a picture of the vegetables, that's GMO. If it looks ugly and you say, I'm going to have to chop pieces off that, and that's terrible, that's natural product. And just one corn on the cob has more nutrition than a 470 pieces of GMO corn on the cob. That's incredible. That's inconceivable, and is backed up by peer-reviewed studies. And so then you talk about how if you stay on the West Coast, you're going to get hammered. So move somewhere else. See? And I got depressed, and I still do a little bit, but I always force myself to think, okay, jet streams, ocean currents, the oceans don't mix. And they do mix, but it's not the way you think. And salinities of the oceans, the speed of the oceans, the equators, there's these little divides, and the temperatures and everything else. Now the isotopes and radiation do spill over, But at least it doesn't open directly into the other oceans, which means to me that we have still a lot of opportunities ahead of us. And like I was talking about earlier, we have all these academic peer-reviewed studies that are hid away from us. And that as this goes out, you know, a lot of people will work to solve cancer a lot harder. And I empowered people, not the last videos, but the 2 big videos before that. I've done big sections on it. And I still haven't got the links put underneath there. Good. I'm glad that came up because I'll try to get that done. And I'm going to retroactive all the cancer links to underneath all the videos, the cancer cures, the turmerics, the papaya leaves, all these academic peer-reviewed studies. That I know there was 700 on turmeric. You know that spiced turmeric? 700. And I know Hippie was saying that his wife, by the way, Hippie, thanks, I seen you post it again. That's very reassuring to see somebody is out there. Folks, please, you know, just start up another site and have my videos go up there. Send me the links. And then when they screw my videos over, I can go and grab the video. If you get somebody else, I have these other alternatives to go grab that video. And use different names, use different titles. You don't have to link back to me. Right? Try to defeat them that way too. Or not, I don't care. It's irrelevant as long as the information goes out and more people has another narrative. Right? More people have another narrative that I think is important. That's why I'm here each night. Also because Japan has been segregated for how many 16 days, you know, 976 days in reality, but actually in 16 days they've killed the internet. Japan's come out with a censorship law. Journalist hasn't spoken out, and everybody keeps coming at me with this, oh, TEPCO's webcam is up. See, Japan is not off the internet. Oh, I get an email from my wife all the time. I heard that one about 30 times. 30 times? You got to give your PR firms a different sentence, okay? Keep coming at me with that same sentence, and you don't think that's suspicious? You don't think that's bizarre that all the Japanese men have left their wives in Japan and they converse with them all day, every day on the emails? Do you got any idea how stupid that is? You know, where's the tens of thousands of YouTube videos from the 200 million people in Japan every day? Where's the hundreds of millions of Twitters and Facebook and Vines and Instagrams and links? You know, where's those metadata that's never out there anymore? How did that disappear? How come nobody else is even asking that question? It's, you know, there's a lot of people that are keeping their mouth shut. Yeah, thanks, Hippie. You bet. Be shrewd, Dana. Please. Rebirths happened 4 hours after he learned that Intel was churning out nanochips. The chips embed in the heart. Set off with simple phone calls. Cause a heart attack. Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah. I can go down that road. There's some real wild stuff they've been up to over the years. I was lucky. I grew up with an older brother. And he had, and still does, a massive library. And let me see, I'll just tell you a quick one. When I was, how old was I then? 18? 17, 18. He had a book on a prosecutor who chased Martin Bormann, who was Hitler's financial officer. And he wrote a book about all the hotels and all the taxis, right? All the expenses, the dates, the times. And it was just a log of everything he'd done all day, each day, you know, trying to find Martin Bormann, who allegedly escaped with around 9 submarines full of booty and jewelry and gold teeth and gold glasses, blah, blah, blah. You know, and so, all my life I looked for these submarines underwater as a diver, hoping to see some man-made structure. I found a lot of things, but I never did find one of them. But what the whole point of that story was that even at that age, I read that book probably 5 times. And it's just numbers, dates, names of hotels and languages I don't understand. And I obsessed because that was the first true book I had read. And that opened up everything else for me after that. And then when it came to religion, I had read the Quran, I had read the Bible, I had read all kinds of other religions because my brother had them all on a shelf, see? And I asked him one day, was he religious? Just being a dummy. And he said, no. He said, well, how can you understand them if you don't read about them, Dana? And so I got interested and I started reading about all the religions. Not that I became religious, it was interesting because I idolized my oldest brother, obviously, right? But anyway, I got digressed. But I just want you to know that I've been at this for a long time. And when I was on the ocean, I would always go out and buy $50, $60, $70 books and take them on the ocean with me. And I would be on the ocean for 100 days at a time, back to back, year after year, as a commercial diver, 6 hours a day on the ocean floor. And so I was intrigued. I love to read, and I still do. Now I hunt down academic peer review studies and read them because of the denial we live in, right? Angry Annie Beck says, "Oh, angry administrator." I gotta go read that one. Yeah, I'll come back up, Master. You looked on Craigslist and Japan was all gibberish. That infection was hopefully been contained to the islands. Not the stuff would go everywhere quickly during the way to mutate. It was a stock covered in cobs, looked like a tree. Where did blood rain come from on the 7th of November? Yeah, that's an abnormality. I've seen that, but I didn't follow up on it. Please, Fundicize, what you said about veggies, the ones that need trimming are natural or GMO. No, the ones, if you pick up a vegetable and it's full of, it looks like, the insects got at it really heavy and it's all destroyed, that's most likely, if you look, you'll find out that was most likely that organic. And the ones that look like you should take a picture, that are beautiful, they look like they're plastic. You go in there now, you'll see it. That's most likely GMO. And you can tell once you start looking that way, it'll actually be written there, but you can't actually trust what they're telling you. But you can kind of trust, if it tells you that and it is like really distorted and everything else, that very well probably is organic. Because that's organic. And because organic now is at such demand, and they ship it from all over the place to get their hands on it, then it looks even worse. Whereas GMO, you can put GMO in your fridge and it won't go bad. Literally, see? It's like that butter you buy in those plastic containers. You can open that up and leave it on your counter. It'll never get moldy. So don't eat anything that don't go moldy, for starters. That's my one rule of thumb anyway. If it doesn't go moldy, it goes in the garbage. Once you realize that is not going to go moldy, you know what it is now. That's GMO, see? I tried to get a Chinese couple to not buy the huge onions yesterday, but I don't speak Chinese. So they still went for the pretty veggies. Thanks, Anna Beck. I gotta come back down to your other question here. So, aquaponics. Okay, I'll try to catch up. I gotta come back down for 1 second. I know Steve. I have drank and eat dried green tea in hot water for 5 to 6 years. I did it because I figured out that the green tea was taking away my allergies. 19 of the 26 that I have had for 40 years. Yeah, and I'm just saying some of the green teas got a lot of fluoride, and you have to check. Not all of them. And some of the black tea got fluoride too, by the way, but not all of them. And so, once again, it's not what I say, it's how I say it, and it's hard to stay on top of that all the time for me. All I suggest when I say something is people go look it up themselves. That's all I'm ever saying. Don't take my 100% word, because you can't convince yourself doing that. You got to go look it up yourself. That's the only way I can do it anyway. Illuminati thinks we're idiots. Leave the truth behind in plain sight, Steve says. And got jumped up to the top again. If the insects do not want it, why should you, right? Yeah, Tom says. So, yeah, that's a good one. Like the insects, they're supposed to be driven away by all that formaldehyde engineered into the GMO, all that glyphosates, right? It's supposed to keep the insects away. And it does. Make no mistake about it. It changes, morphs the biodiversity in the soil itself when you use GMO. And then the pollen can get up into the jet stream, go right across the ocean and pollinate somebody else's crop. Monsanto can come in and sue them because they didn't pay them. See how that works? And Beck says, thanks, hippie. I will try this to grow dandelions. I missed that one. Darn it, I got cut off again. Yeah, that'll be your end. If you got other things running in the background, whatever. Let's come down. And see, I know there was somebody down there that I missed. That was James Wong. You're welcome. Fun to size. Let me go. Darn it. I saw a video about Argentina. That's where the reactors are headed for, by the way, in Fukushima. Most of the crops there are GMO now, and the people, because the China syndrome where it melts to China, well, this is melting down to Argentina. Dana, we seem to be failing at getting the word out. Perhaps we need to nail our genitals to the sidewalk. See Russian police state article. Yeah, you know what my suggestion a while back was? Every time you see somebody of authority, you put one thumb in your mouth, one up your bum, and then you go until they walk past you. Maybe they'll leave you alone, right? If the police haul you over, that's what you should do. If we killed roaches, it would likely kill you as well. Right, Steve, Dana. We seem to be failing. We done that one, kind of, sort of. No, you gotta... It's got to be something people are interested in before they accept the information, Stephen. Right? You were saying you're trying to talk to your doctor. But when people ask you a question, then it's easy, right, to tell them the information because they asked you. And so a lot of the times a good way to ask it, say, hey, you know, I studied a lot up on this Fukushima and the radiation and all the experts, and did you have any questions? Because I just find that interesting when people ask. I'm just curious how people, what is it they don't understand about it? You can kind of like come in a nicer way. I see that a lot with people. They ask me, you know, about that because they know I'm at it. And Dana, have you seen this video yet? It's simplified, but it's getting the word out. I don't know what the video is, so Lorena. Hey, James. I turn off all programs when I get live feed, and I still cut off sometimes. Oh, yeah, well. Like what happens with my stream for folks who are not familiar with what I'm talking about here is that Google buffers me. And once it locks into my horns, it doesn't let go. I can get booed off, but I'll pop back up right away. But your connection in your neighborhoods and stuff like that might get knocked off. You might get knocked off your computer because you got other things running in the background and it's just stalling. It's not actually knocking off. But if you're clicking on things and you're typing and you're a lot of the times, if it's a cheaper computer, certainly it'll do it to you. If you don't know how to clean your computer up, it's full of all kinds of stuff. It'll do it to you. Let's go back. The Philippines are in disarray. I'm going to catch up on everybody's comment after. I think I caught up. I said hi to everybody anyway. I'll just run right down to the bottom here. Yeah. Compost tea, hippie says. I like that one. Way to go, hippie. Good stuff, man. I'll catch up these comments. Massive CME went off about an hour ago. Let's see what happens. I get an error when I try to link sources. Once again, folks, there's two videos under this video, Dutch Sink and Tattoo. And I can't remember his name because I just ran across him before I came online, but I realized he's a smart guy. I like what he was saying. And so I got him under the video. I'll go back and check his site out later, but he's definitely... And actually, I heard Dutch mention him, too, in the video, which was playing just before I came online. I was trying to chase my doggy and get my cup of tea. Okay. So, let's 43 minutes. Let's start to wrap it up a little bit. And let's do a recap. For anybody that's just joining us, not familiar, and that stuff don't matter. I got my page up to. Once again, I already done a video excerpts from the Mad Scientist Handbook. So you're ready to vaporize a human. That was in response to new scientists saying that lasers would never, or don't have that capability, and be many years down the road for it can have those types of capability. And what they were doing, they were distorting the facts. And it really got under my skin. And so I made a video, and how long is that video? 7 minutes. It's all pictures and video clips and me talking in order to go out and try to bludgeon these people and try to give other people another narrative about that. Because that's not true, see? Directed energy weapons are on Humvees and on ships. And they've been knocking missiles out of the skies and painting satellites and putting them up into space for many decades. And it's just, you know, for anybody to come out and say that, that's an outright lie. Now, Dutch Sink, his second last video got 500,000 views. And his newest video got 22,000 views. And this guy doesn't have any reason to fabricate or make things up. He's not going to gain anything by that. When you listen to his vocals, you'll see he's not the type of guy You know, he's very smooth. He's very real. He gives you links to absolutely everything. He doesn't miss nothing. He links, just everything he talks is linked back to its site. And these are not just kooky sites he's linking to. Well, they are in our terminology because they're governments, most of it, or 100%, but they're also the research sites. These are the gold mines you would go to. And when you see these abnormalities, and they correlate with other abnormalities from other sites that are also monitoring it through temperatures, through water dispersions, through all kinds of really cool stuff, through geology itself. And then we know the history of lasers over the last 50 years. We've seen people melt it. We've seen buses melted. People melted in their uniforms and melted into the dash of the vehicle. And the paint melted off, but the tire is still there. His boots still there. His jacket and clothing still perfectly, not even singed, but melted. We've seen people melted to steel, into steel. And then all the talk of depleted uranium weapons. Now, we went down the road of the conspiracy, so to speak, where can the ocean itself have a use if it's radiated? I think it's not a conspiracy to me, because it can. Obviously, if you wanted to take it now, use it as something, yeah, absolutely. When you look at how lasers work, right, through different gases, and how to use radiation and stuff like that, who knows what they got cooked up. There's 4,200 peer-reviewed academic journals locked up in the ivory towers every day. That's 1,000 pages per academic journal. And so we don't know what's really going on or what they're up to. We know there's officially several billion inhabitable planets now in our Milky Way. Get a load of that one. And these people desperately want to get there. That's why the Hadron Collider has 5,000 scientists from all the major institutions trying to work out the God particle, so to speak. But what it means is they can prove there's other dimensions. That's what it all means. That's what the whole experiment, that's what all these years and that 25 miles of tunnel and all these scientists is trying to prove a concept, a theory. And, you know, billions and billions and billions of dollars to prove this theory. And all it really does is it allows them to hold on to antimatter and matter. And we know a cubic centimeter of that could boil all the oceans on the planet, could crack the moon in two, and could also power a spaceship through the galaxies. So time travel through dimensions, I'm bringing that up because that's what they're trying to prove. That's not me. I'm not making that up. That Hadron Collider down there, that's not an illusion, okay? You can go find it all over the internet. They're actually doing that because they think there's other dimensions. And one of the first experiments you'll ever do in a physics class is they'll shine lights through these little tiny holes where only a proton can get through, but other protons will come through the walls itself. And so no one's ever figured out how it does that unless there's other dimensions. And they teach that in every physics class on the planet, you know. Okay, we'll come back and start to wind down. But you got to remember what the real numbers of Fukushima, Daiichi, military-industrial nuclear site is, because it's not a power plant. That's just a byproduct of what they're doing there. 1,300 isotopes. You need 1,300 Geiger counters. You got to calibrate each one of those Geiger counters to a specific isotope. You got to know how to find that isotope. You got to catch the gamma rays when they're airborne in order to even sniff it and check it. If you excite it too early, you're going to get a wrong reading. You're certainly not going to get the right readings. If you do it just out of the box and test it and go outdoors and go try to test something, you didn't calibrate it. See, it's not even going to work. You have to calibrate it to the isotope that you want to find. And so what they say to you is cesium-137, cesium this. Well, you got the plutonium, strontiums, the the iodine. You got 1,300 weaponized military isotopes that have went down onto melted cores where it's 9,000 degrees. They're aerosol. They go up into the air. The typhoons whip them up in the air. And then all this radiation with this hotter ocean, because that's energy, that's particles, all those gamma and beta and isotopes are producing endless energy that doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. It's a light bulb that never goes off and doesn't need electricity. It just pumps out this energy, for cesium 30 years, plutonium millions, strontium, these concoctions, because there's only 3 indigenous isotopes on this planet. So I'm just trying to build you a picture of what you're dealing with. is that it's endless laws. They only emit recently to the 300 tons a day. They're not in the models of my 2 last short videos yesterday, which covers both of the academic peer-reviewed models from different angles, and also shows you that New York Times reporter in 2012 who was hosting the Asian Summit for nuclear weapons, talking about what are we going to do about Fukushima? Do we cover it up? Do we not tell people anything? Do we minimize it? I mean, that guy should be definitely, in a real world, he'd be strung out on the torture table. It's just frightening that people like that exist. That's, once again, the New York Times. Everything that opens its mouth, you got to be careful of. And everybody runs to the New York Times because they're too stupid to source things out themselves in the media, and that's who they use. So, now we got thunderclouds on the ocean picking up all these isotopes that are any kind of clouds, thousands of miles of clouds on the Pacific Ocean every day head into the coastlines. And behind that are more thousands of miles of clouds, and then right behind that is more thousands of miles of cloud tomorrow coming our way. And these are picking up all the cesium, all those isotopes, all those gamma and beta particles. And so that has a real effect upon the coastlines. And my take on this is that's what the chemtrailing has been for, because they've been doing this for many, many years. And they were waiting till it accumulated before they can do what they want to do, which is kill off most of this planet. That's what they're up to. In one sense, they don't care about this planet. All they care about is being able to travel to another planet with weapons to take on whatever is there, and to have a new holy grail, a new life, just travel from planet to planet. We can't let human go to another planet, see? Because the only ones going to go there are the people that done everything that's being done to us right now. That's the ones that are going to get there. Their inbreeds are going to be the ones that travels to the other planets in the future if we live that long. And one of the things we have to make sure we do is stop that under all circumstances. We don't let them escape from this planet. We're never going to get out of it. They don't get out of it. That should be the legacy we leave behind us, is we make sure they don't get off this planet ever. Because they're doing it to us on purpose to make us create the technology in order to go out in desperation to find a place to live. But they're going to be the ones that are going to be doing it. That's the fact. They're destroying the planet with all that radiation. And so you have to know about all the natural cures, the DCA, the dandelion root tea. You have to understand how rich those nutrients, how that defeats the cancer, how sugar fuels cancer, how GMO causes your body not to be able to resist those cancers. Because we're just incredible bodies. If we eat healthy, we don't got jack to worry about. But we do got problems because the Pacific Ocean is not going to produce any oxygen in the next year or two, and it's one of the biggest producers of oxygen on this planet. And usually when the ocean came in and hit the coastline, it liberated that oxygen. That was one of the ways. In other ways, it gets picked up in the cloud. In other ways, it's just through natural release. But it's being created by the tiny animals in the ocean. And a lot of people will say, oh, it gets more accumulated in other animals because the crustaceans will eat the little protoplanktons, then the little fish will eat that, bigger fish will eat that, bigger fish eat that, and then we eat the fish. But you got to remember, radiation is putting out all this energy. If you take the plankton, the protoplankton that creates the oxygen and puts it up close to that or anywhere in that mix, you blow it up. It's like H2O, totalic peroxide. When you spray it and you see all those bubbles coming up, it's just killing all those little tiny micro organisms. That's the same thing as the ocean that produces the oxygen. That's what the radiation does to that. And so the fish will last for a while and they'll be extraordinarily toxic, but eventually they have to die off the next few years because we're killing the very basic of that food chain. And so once you do that, that's the end of that, see? But that's for the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean doesn't readily mix with the other oceans. It's really unique how the temperatures keep them separated to a safer degree. It's very difficult. It does, don't get me wrong. You can't have two bodies of water run past each other without the mixture going on, but you got different temperatures, different salinities. You have the different speeds of the ocean that are mixing together. You have the natural equators currents that whisk up between that and circle back into itself that have been going on. That's going to change over time. But so the future, and right now we've got the cures, all kinds of cures for cancer. We know DCA reduces all tumors in 3 weeks. That's proven over and over and peer-reviewed, academically shown. That DCA, look it up. It's on my site. Go back to my videos. See, hello, cancer cured in Canada. His name is right there. It's a CTV clip. There's no money in cures. There's only money in treatments. And that's the last thing they want is a cure. They want population reduction. They're going for broke. They're not only going to populate reduction for us, the humanity itself. They're what we call a soft kill and a fast terrorizing with these super cells at 295 mile or 195 mile an hour. That's created. Dutch Sink is right. You know, that thing was boosted. I even said that before he came out with his video. Don't be surprised if they didn't use technology to give those tornadoes a boost. They're tornadoes. I should call them tornadoes, not typhoons. That's an F4 tornado, okay? But it's 100 miles wide. That is worse. But it wrecked the life of 100 million people in 2.5, 3 hours. Okay, we can't have that out there. We have to do something about this. It's only going to get worse. Next time it could be 300 miles an hour where it hits the land and it might never stop. Because it's picking up all these nuclides. It's picking up all that radiation, all that energy, all those gamma and beta. As it's swirling, it's picking up speed. Didn't he boost it with lasers? As Dutch shows from their own sites that he's, you know, I think that's realistic. I truly do. I don't put anything past these people. I got a big long video on my site about lasers. I understand them quite well. Go to Wikipedia and look it all up yourself. You'll understand what we're talking about if you're not familiar with it. So let's come back down. I think I covered it all again for everybody. Get everybody up to speed that's not familiar with it. We're 56 minutes. We'll read the last few comments. And I'll catch up tomorrow on everything else. I buy green tea in a bag and then put the tea through a coffee grinder, says M. Nastri Service. I buy and coffee grinder, turn it into powder, put it into my hot water. Yeah, there's all kinds of ways. Just dandelion root tea is better for you, okay? It's got every nutrient and every mineral your body ever wanted. Period. It's free. Don't cost you a nickel. Pull it out of the ground. Take the old carrot peeler, give it a few swipes, put it under some water. Just chop into it. Drop it in your water. And you're going to get every nutrient your body ever wanted. You want to beat cancer? That's probably the best way you'll ever do it. But also the DCA has no patents on it. And there's no, you don't need a prescription to get it. Just go ask your pharmacist which way to get it. You can buy it right there for $10 or $15. They don't want it out there, see? But CTV, that clip up on my site will show you. Go over and read his studies. Go over and look at his work. He's been at this quite a few years. He's been peer-reviewed, not debunked. The ones that try to debunk him, peer-reviewed him and said, yeah, it's the real deal. Cures cancer. You need to know that because it's coming, see? Annabek says, scared, clean your browser and temporary internet garbage. Yeah, CC Cleaner wipes it all out automatically for you. Go and check all the boxes. But CC Cleaner, download it, folks. It's a little tiny program. It'll go in and it'll clear out all your other stuff in your, like all your redundant files and everything, and that'll make your computer much more faster. And when you sleep at night, go in, and I know people forget about this because they're lulled into the new computer age, but go in and defrag your computer and put all your files back in it, right? You need to do that overnight because it could take 4 or 5 hours for it to defrag and bring all your files back into, so it's not searching through tens of millions of ones and zeros. Instead, everything is back where it's supposed to be in the computer. Whoop, 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 whoop. But right now, it has to go all over the place. So if you don't do a defrag every month, and even though you might not download stuff, it doesn't mean that you don't need to, see? I am in Canada, and there is next to nobody that seems to be awake. No, I mean, everybody's waiting for the media to tell them the truth. Name one time the media told anybody the truth, see? Dandelion root tea, and papaya extract, and pineapple enzyme. And Steve wins the best comment of the day. I mean, everybody else is awesome too, don't get me wrong, but that's a great comment because everybody can see that and do that. Pineapple, just cut out the cores and put it in with your water and boil it up and drink it. Yeah, good night, James. I'm coming down through it right fast, folks. I blast the hippie. DARPA. DARPA. are developing Terminators at God's speed. Yes, they are. I mean, they've done it under the guise that they were developing humanoid robots to test out, equipment and clothing and underwear and jocks and blah. When it's the most sophisticated thing on the planet, robotically wise. They don't need the human race no more. See, they got all those academic journals. They got all their scientists that they like, that are the bootlicking, cheerleading lapdogs. And they're looking for a way to get rid of us without us going and digging them out of their bunkers if we find out. If we find out who these people are and the shit hits the fan, that's what we're going to do. We're going to dig them right out of their bunkers with shovels if we got to, right? That's what the population on this planet will do. I can guarantee you we've had it with these people. I'll run down through the comment. Yeah, I read a note. If your hard drive is nearly full, it will drastically reduce performance. That's if you don't defrag it. Yeah. Steve? 64. Filling up your hard drive won't reduce your performance, as if you don't defrag it. Right? You can fill up a hard drive, but as long as you defrag it, your computer will work just as fine. It's all the programs you got running in the background. Right? That's the ones that get you. I should do a video about all that for people later on, I guess. Hoki-chan, are we all going to die? No. But they're trying. Right? They're trying. And what you need to know is about dandelion root teas. Once again, it's got every nutrient the body needs. And that's why cancer, because everybody's eating this GMO, they don't have any nutrients in their body. They can't fight it off. Your body's incredible. Your body is unbelievable. It really, truly is, okay? And you just treat it right and eat decent, Hoki-chan, and you'll be okay, Be aware. Okay, and back. Yeah. Thank you, I will. I'll tell Zoe. And I'll catch up with everybody else. I'll read those comments after this pops back up. Once again, anybody wants to re-upload this video and you want to send me a link so I know where they're going to be too. If something happens, that way I can go download it and re-upload it to my site real fast. I am making copies. I am making audio recordings as I'm doing it. But we've seen a lot of dirty games played against me lately. And so, yeah, my neighbors are watching out for me now, Stephen. We actually got cameras pointed at my place all the time now. And I got some of my neighbors are really upset. And they're not people you want to get upset at you. If they catch anybody on my property, I wouldn't want to be them. Let's put it that way. These are retired and they're watching now. They don't like it because Zoe's a really cool dog, see? So, lucky me. I'm lucky. I'm lucky that she picked me as a friend, so I got a nice doggy. Okay, folks. I'll catch up on your comments after. Lots of people on the stream. Thanks, folks, for joining us. And once again, feel free to put any advertisement on the video. I won't do it to people, but go ahead if that's your thing. Anyway, at all, to get this information out there and have more people educated, more people informed, and down the road, they'll be up against an informed population, not a deformed population. So, have a nice night. Take care.